What's up, you guys? Welcome to the TechCity Podcast. Belarus from TechCity back again. Thank you for clicking on the link that brought you to this podcast. And if it is your first time listening to this podcast, I put it to you that this is the best use of your internet at such a time as this. But really, thank you so much. So if you are perhaps a regular listener of the podcast, I need to tell you that something will be slightly different in today's episode. So I'm doing a simulcast of sorts. I'm recording audio and I'm also recording video. I'm trying out a setup of sorts. I don't know how this would work, but I'm looking at the possibility of also posting some of the episodes of the podcast on YouTube so that you can see some of my mannerisms and everything like, what's up, you guys? So I will leave a link to the video as well when this is ready, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are. All right, so thank you for that. There was something else I was going to mention. And that's that I will also be having someone join me in the next episode of the podcast. He's a YouTuber, he's a tech influencer as well. So you want to look out for that one when it is done, published, and everything. Okay, so let's go for it real quickly, shall we? So last week on the TechCity podcast, if you listened, I have been doing a sort of investigation. Okay, not an investigation, but I have been following very closely the story of Alibaba owner Jack Ma and just, his sudden disappearance from the public sphere. And you would not believe it, you guys, but the very day that I had produced the podcast, that of course was titled, Where is Jack Ma and Other Puzzles, right? Jack Ma made an appearance. Yes. I think the Chinese government kind of got wind of the fact that I was onto them. Oh, I don't know. So, well, careful, Bella. But just, unexpectedly and coincidentally as well, on that very day, last week, Wednesday, the 20th of January, he made an appearance in a 48, almost 50-second video where he was addressing people, and many said, oh, wow, okay, thankfully he's alive, we see him now, but I have more updates on that, and just sort of like a follow-up, because I had promised that I would bring you more information about that. It's been it's been more than 3 months after him completely going missing in action. He resurfaced last week, Wednesday, and some say that he looked like he had been chastened, like he'd been talked to, he'd been addressed and maybe severely warned, maybe by the government or whatever, when he made that appearance. But before we go on to the details of his appearance, there's information that the very fact that Jack Ma reappeared and got back onto the social scene, regardless of the format of his reappearance, his company Alibaba had its shares jump as much as 8.5% on the day that video of him was put out and was confirmed as genuine. But of course, his return has not necessarily cleared all the questions up or given everyone answers to questions that they've been asking about his whereabouts. However, the video was posted on the 20th of January, but it was dated 10th of January. So that is yet another question mark. If the date on the video said 10th, I don't know, why was it coming 10 days after? But of course, in the video, he did not say anything about the Chinese government's clampdown that had left his business empire in a crisis. In fact, according to a transcript that I was able to lay my hands on of his speech, he said China has realized a complete eradication of poverty and it was revitalizing the countryside in a new development stage of common prosperity for the nation. People have said that the comments that he made in that recorded video bear a very stark contrast to his last public remarks in October at the summit that, of course, he attended, where he said lots of things that were in criticism, right, of the Chinese government. And so he was quoted also as saying, my colleagues and I have been learning and thinking, and we have become more determined to devote ourselves to education and public welfare. Now, this was him in that video addressing teachers at a rural school. Apparently, his company, the Jack Ma Foundation, did not only confirm that he had taken part in the online edition of the annual Rural Teacher Initiative event that Wednesday, but they also gave more context to what the the event was about. The Rural Teachers Initiative was established by Jack Ma in 2015 to support teachers working in the Chinese countryside. And for the past 5 years, Jack Ma has invited rural teachers to the tropical island of Hainan for a ceremony to present 100 of the most outstanding teachers with a cash grant of 100,000 yuan, that's around $14,260 each, to support rural education. But according to one member of a large online forum of China analysts that was published on Guardian.co, the 50-second appearance of Jack Ma in a broadcast from an unknown location, according to this man, looked like a hostage video. So the video also included clips of Jack Ma inspecting a rural school near Hangzhou in China, which is where Alibaba is based. So there are a few more questions. And of course, one thing that I believe is what I will be holding on to for now is I hope that he's still alive. People have said he didn't look like his usual bubbly self in that video. The dating of the video as well, of course, would raise some eyebrow and raise some dust as well. But the Jack Ma Foundation has said he was there, so there is no cause for alarm. But we are waiting to see him, just be more in the eye of the public. So there's that. But, in other news, let's quickly touch on something that's happening back home in Nigeria. And that is with regards to the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Some have also complained that he's been missing in action. Where has he been all this while? But we do see that he's also granted interviews, and his Twitter handle also seems a bit active. But I will take this from the angle of something that people have complained about for the longest time. And last year, there were reports about the Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board almost making things harder for content creators in Nigeria. Now, while that is not the thrust of the conversation right now, people have complained endlessly about how touts, or moniles, which are people who are saddled with the responsibility of overseeing or supervising property, public property in some instances, and then they make trouble with people who are filmmakers when they come to use those sites to record their films. Now, in an interview that the governor of Lagos State granted on Channels Television, he was asked about that because a movie actor and producer and director, Toyin Abraham, had complained in a video that she put out on her Twitter about the incessant harassments that some of these touts, made them encounter while filming. And, she had complained about that. And when he was asked in that interview, the governor of Lagos had said that, and these are his words, he said, filmmakers might consider looking into getting state permits to shoot in areas of Lagos to avoid harassment by area boys. He also went ahead to suggest that these filmmakers could seek proper permission from private property owners, saying that if you are going to film somewhere, there are rules that will guide your filming there, saying maybe just a little permit, or maybe you just need to tell the owner of the property that these are the things you are doing. He said, I think that way you will have easier access to be able to do your thing easily. So he went ahead to say, but part of the problem we have in Lagos is that everyone thinks that everything is open to everyone. Nobody has a monopoly of everything. Now, that was interesting because I have been involved in some film shots before, video shoots generally speaking, and it's not possible that you would go somewhere to shoot and not take permission. So for me, that was like, I'm sorry, sir, where went you with that question? I don't know, but people definitely would take permission if they were going to use any property at all to film. They would take permission. The problem is some of the guys who are caretakers, right, of some of these places, these structures, ask for money. They always ask for money. They're asking for tons of cash before they will allow those people shoot peacefully. So they may not even say, oh, well, you can't shoot, but they will make trouble. They will either start making noise or they will start threatening that they will destroy property if you don't pay them to use these places. So I think the governor has to address that from that angle. Maybe he's got to now be some form of licensing of sorts if you're going to shoot in parts of Lagos and whatnot. A friend of mine who happens to be a talent manager and a publicist, he's Taiwo Adeyemi, the CEO of Box Culture, put a tweet with a picture of what looked very much like a license and tweeted, "Laugh out loud. Why is he referring to the governor? Why is he using might for what is already happening? This license still doesn't deter touts from harassing people. So what's your point, Your Excellency?" And what is interesting is the video that was put out of the interview with the Lagos State governor was this month. The license that this friend of mine, Taiwo Adeyemi, put out on Twitter was something that was granted him between the month of September and I think October or November of 2020. So that is really interesting. That is very, very interesting when the governor makes it sound like, oh, well, we're still thinking about it. Of which it seems like something that's already very much in operation. But yeah, it's not all doom and gloom for filmmakers, right? Funke Akindele-Bello is recording lots and lots of great progress with her movie Omogeto the Saga. She was trending on Twitter earlier this week, and according to the news agency of Nigeria, NAN, her movie Omogeto the Saga, released on the 25th of December, has broken a 4-year-old record held by Kemi Adetiba's The Wedding Party. And in a statement released by CEAN, that is the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria, Omogeto the Saga has so far grossed over 450 million naira after holding the number one spot for its third week in a row. I need to ask though, have you gone to a cinema recently? I haven't. I haven't been to a cinema since 2020. I think the month was February or January or so. It's been a very long time. So I'm curious about how many people are back to the cinemas. So that for me is just, that just stands out. Anyway, they go ahead to say that Funke Akindele-Bello's latest feat is probably the most shocking in recent times, as it comes amidst a pandemic that cripples the film industry for months. Yes, I was just going there. Well, that's interesting to note. I think that the fact that it's a comedy, I think, definitely works. People are really looking for lighthearted stories to consume, to just make them feel better about what's going on around the world. And if you've seen the movie, did you love it? Was it something you perhaps went back to watch? Because I think, and this is just me thinking, sometimes what makes movies gross so much or so high is the number of returning cinema goers. People watch this film and they're like, you know what, I can't get enough of it. I'm going back and I'm going back. So I'm curious about that as well. But of course, she did put a post on her Instagram where she showed a video of herself and her husband, JJC Skills, dancing and appreciating God for the great success of her movie Omogeto the Saga. Something else that was trending on Twitter this week is GB WhatsApp. GB WhatsApp is something that I recently found out. I have heard that term or that phrase used before, but I wasn't sure what it meant. I thought it was, I don't know. So when I saw GB WhatsApp, I thought it was maybe a kind of subscription model, right, for your gigabytes. When I saw GB WhatsApp, like, oh, does that mean you have a special package or plan for people who use data for only WhatsApp and, whatever. But upon further scrutiny and further investigation, I found out that GB WhatsApp is an actual application. Yeah, it's a crack version of a very famous and widely used messaging platform, WhatsApp, which we know of. And when I say we, I want to believe that I'm talking to people who use only WhatsApp. Because this thing actually is a crack version of WhatsApp. And so it gives you a completely different experience from the traditional WhatsApp that is owned by Mark Zuckerberg now. So through GB WhatsApp, I hear that you can get handy, beneficial, and standalone functions that don't exist on the original WhatsApp platform, right? So the possibilities, they say, are endless, according to the information about this application. It comes with numerous customization options. You, as the user of GB WhatsApp, can hide your online status visibility from contacts, and they have a brand new update that allows you change your voice when you're sending a voice note. Yeah, that was a very recent update on the application. And also, when someone posts something on their status, if you use GB WhatsApp, if they delete that WhatsApp status, you will still see it. So people say that some story that went viral, I think late last year or the early days of 2021, about a girl who had a very touching story about her mom being a hawker. And she happened upon a child beggar, and she was kind of, taunting the child with a bottle of drink, asking if the child wanted it. And, it was very disturbing. But she put that up on her WhatsApp status, and then upon discovering that that was very out of line and very distasteful, she took it down. But somebody who was using GB WhatsApp saw it and then took it to Twitter, because she took it down and then the person was using GB WhatsApp. And so that is quite disturbing. People have said that anyone who's using GB WhatsApp should delete it because it is, it's of course, a crack version. It also is infringing on the privacy of users of WhatsApp because information that they may not want out is being consumed and maybe even stored by people who are using this application. So we don't know if the WhatsApp developers or the owners will, I don't know, figure out a way to take it down. I don't know how possible that is. Maybe work in tandem with, Android, to ensure that the app doesn't work on the software. So if you were curious about what GB WhatsApp is, this is definitely the explanation for that. I've got a few more stories to share, and that is with regards to what Lego Video is doing. They have put together an application that is almost like TikTok, but kind of for children, right? It's a line in the Lego franchise, and they have worked together with Universal Music to scan bricks to create AR music videos in your home. Yes, definitely. So it is called VIDIYO Video, and it's a music video making application and brick kit, which is aimed at kids aged 7 to 10, and it can scan special effects, enabled coded tiles, and make social media music clips. There's also an application where kids could create their own mixes and upload them using Lego pieces that can be scanned to unlock effects and augmented reality in the video. So this is really interesting. They've gotten licensing for some of the music that can be used in the videos, and the sets look like they have minifigures plus scannable special effects that are called Beats. It's a very interesting idea, if you ask me, but we don't know how far Lego is willing to take this and what other parts of the world this will be available in. You might want to check that out for your child if you want to engage them, seeing that some children have gone back to school and some others have not. And before we go today on the TechCity Podcast, Spotify has tried out a new feature with audiobooks, getting celebrities to narrate some titles. Yes, a list of titles and narrators that you may be able to listen to exclusively on Spotify include Frankenstein, which was written by Mary Shelley and is narrated by YouTuber David Dobrik. Yes. Also, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, written by Frederick Douglass himself, but narrated by Forrest Whitaker, is up. The Awakening, written by Kate Chopin, will be narrated by Hilary Swank. Persuasion, written by Jane Austen, narrated by Cynthia Erivo. And if you are perhaps into other titles, I've got one more for you. Jane Eyre. I like Jane Eyre. Written by Charlotte Bronte, will be narrated by Sarah Combs. So if you are on Spotify, wherever you are in the world, and you're listening to this podcast, you might want to check out the new audiobook that has been put out by the platform, and let us know what you think about it. Okay, that's all we have time for today on the Tech City Podcast. Thank you for listening, and I'm really hopeful that this has been as insightful and as informative as you hoped it'd be. If you've got any stories that you think would be interested in, please do me a personal favor and share on Twitter or on Instagram at TechCityNG, or send an email info@techcityng.com. Subscribe, that's very important. What else do you need to do? Share. Oh my days, this is a worthy find. So please share to everyone in your circle and let them be just as updated about news as you are. My name is Bella Rose from Tech City, saying thanks for listening. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Tech City Podcast. Bye for now.